think your home lab is protected just because you have backups? No. We're going to talk about that in this video right now. Hey, we talk about all things tech on this channel, especially home labs. Love the home labs. Why don't you follow along? That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we are releasing. Click on the subscription button, click on the bell. And also, if you want to know more about tech in general and you want to become better, maybe you're a tech person in the workforce, right? As I am, and I've designed a whole bunch of training courses that will help you to be a better tech. Down below, we've got a link to my Udemy page where I've got training courses on server, security, networking, storage, IT management, a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you want to learn more and get better, go and check some of those out as well. Now, most home labs don't fail because hardware fails. They fail because recovery wasn't part of their design, right? When they're designing the home lab, and I know I encountered this earlier on, is I did not consider setting up my home lab for disaster recovery. Something major happens, and then I didn't have a plan, so then I've lost lots of components. I've potentially lost data on my home lab, and we don't want that to happen. So we'll talk about how to set up backups properly, but also, more importantly, how to set up high availability properly on your home lab, how to consider storage and server design when you're setting up a home lab to make sure that it's robust and working better for longer. We want that. We want to make sure that your home lab is the best home lab that it can be. At least I want to know that. Hopefully you do too. Okay, so the first is backups and recovery, backups and restores. As I said at the start, backups don't actually mean that your home lab is safe. Now, backups, of course, are very important. And if you're not backing up the data on your home network, on your home lab, big mistake. Because trust me, I've been involved in many of these at home, but also in workplaces where people just didn't do backups. And then all of a sudden things didn't work well. And then all of a sudden, oh no, I've lost some data and I'm in a bit of trouble, right? It's sort of like when you get, like a car and you're like, I don't need car insurance. What's gonna happen? But trust me, when you get a little bit of a ding, when somebody hits you, it's not your fault, it's never your fault. You're very glad that you did have insurance because then it's all covered. If you didn't have that, bigger problems, right? Same sort of deal. Make sure that you do backups properly and make sure that you're setting up your home lab properly for backups. Now, backups can give you a false sense of security because you're thinking, hey, the backups work fine. The backups are running every night, they're every week, they're not a problem. But you know where a lot of people fail? They never tested their backups. They assumed that the backups were just working and that they would work. And then when they actually lose data and they go to try to recover the backups don't work. So as part of a good overall disaster recovery planning is backups are essential, but then making sure that that you're testing those backups. If you're backing up files, if you're backing up virtual machines, if you're backing up pools of disks within your NAS, test it to make sure that it actually does work. The next one here is all about storage. Right, now we're talking about storage, we're talking about many things. You can talk about the hard drives inside of your computers in your home lab. You can talk about your external media, right? Your SSDs, your hard drives that are plugged into USB, USB-C, those things. But then we're also talking about your NAS devices or SAN if you've got a SAN. But let's stick with NAS. You got to set that up properly. You got to set it up properly with redundancy. Redundancy means that if your first one goes down, you're not in problems because you got a second one. Here's the thing, we're talking about the first one being backups. Here's where a lot of people fail, is they do their backups of all of their data of their NAS onto the NAS. So that the NAS that is running all of your data, you do the backup job, you go, yeah, I'm doing backups, and then backing up to the same device. And then your device fails, or you have multiple disks fail, and yeah, you've got a RAID set up, great, good for you, you got a RAID, yeah. But then you've lost all the data. You've got the one device doing two operations. So you may want to look at considering a secondary NAS. Right? I know it sounds crazy, right? I'm not going to go buy myself a second NAS, but trust me, when you don't have a secondary NAS and your first NAS stops working and you lose everything on your home lab, boy, are you happy that you've got a secondary NAS. And backups are super important when we're talking about disaster recovery. Is having a secondary NAS is one thing, but a good backup strategy should also follow what's called the 3-2-1 rule, right? 3-2-1 is like a corporate thing. It's used a lot in businesses where you want to have 3 copies of data, the same data, 3 copies of it somewhere. You want it in 2 locations and you want at least one of them to be offsite, somewhere different. Now, we talked about the scenario before about people who run a backup on their NAS onto the NAS. Well, that's, yeah, you've got two copies now, right? You've got the copy of your photo on your NAS, and you've got the second copy of the photo on a backup, but it's also on your NAS. Well, that breaks the 3-2-1 rule. In this case, it's on the same NAS. So you're not following that rule. One in the 3-2-1 is in a remote site outside of your home. Okay, otherwise you're breaking the rules. Because then, let's say I have a fire, something bad happens, or some thief comes in and they steal all my stuff. So I want that one in the 3-2-1, meaning that I want one copy external. So I'm gonna give that hard drive to a friend. I'm gonna give it to a family member. I'm gonna do a backup to another device, give it to them, and then I'll bring it back when I need to. And this is where I sometimes like having a second NAS. I know it sounds overkill, but I've gotten into a habit throughout my entire career to have two of everything. So when I buy a NAS, I buy two of them. Ideally the same sort of capacity or even more on the second one. So I do a backup of everything on my NAS to another NAS, and then I grab that NAS and I give it to a friend. And then maybe every month I bring that NAS back, do another backup, and then send it back. That way I've always got a copy outside, because you don't want things to fail. And great, you've got backups, but if it's all on the one location, you're in a bit of trouble. So get it out there. And you also want to be doing server backups, complete server backups. This is the next one, where in a good disaster recovery setup in a Homelab is not only to be doing backups of your individual files, but do backups of your servers if you can. So if you've got the ability, if you're running, for example, hypervisors, if you're running Proxmox, if you're running a VM, running Linux, you've got your Docker containers, do backups of your entire server, what's called snapshot backups of everything. So imagine if you have like a server and the server itself fails. You've got the data backups, great. The contents of all of the VM, it's all backed up. But then what do you have to do? You have to go and rebuild and build a brand new server from scratch and then recover the data to it. While if you had a backup of the entire, a snapshot of the entire VM, virtual machine, then you just recover the entire VM. So when you're designing your Homelab for disaster recovery, make sure that you're backing up system level stuff, right? You're backing up all of the VM. You're backing up ideally all of the what's called system state. So all of the configuration settings of all of your VMs as well. You can even go one step further, and we're talking about full replication. If you've got two NASs, you can set them up with two NASs to have a backup of just the files, and you transfer the files over. But you want to get really, really fancy, you could actually have full disk-to-disk replication between the two NASs, so that both NASs are essentially the same, identical copies, and you're now doing essentially block-based backups of everything. That's like extreme. I know it sounds extreme, but trust me, when you want to make sure that disaster recovery is done properly, and when you do lose something, boy, aren't you glad. I'm very glad that I have done it properly, because then I have all the data and it takes me a lot less time to recover everything than to have to rebuild stuff, and you know what I mean. High availability and everything. Now, I know you're gonna say to yourself, Emilio, you're crazy, man. Like, I don't have the money to buy two of everything. I know, I don't have the money to buy two of everything either. But what I wanna try to do is I wanna try to build redundancy in everything where I can. High availability in everything. I talked about buying not one NAS, but buying two. If you're gonna get mini PCs, if you're gonna get servers, don't buy one, buy two, and set them up in what's called a cluster, where they're both highly available, where if one fails, any VMs that are running will just spin up on the second. If you have a third one, that's even better, right? When you're setting up your disks on your NAS, on your computers, setting them up with high availability, RAID configurations, where if you have one disk fails, you don't lose your data. When you're talking about NICs, network interface cards, right? You've got network points. Do you want to just run one network point into the back of your computer? Because then if that fails, then you're in trouble. So maybe you want to buy a network card that has 2 points and you run 2 network cables out. So it's highly available. You want to get extreme, you buy 2 network cards, where if the network card fails, it has 2 cables, you're in trouble. But if you have 2 network cards and you've got cables running out of different network cards, even better, right? So think about just little things that you can do like this to create more redundancy where possible, right? And this is also true on the networking side of things. When you're talking about your switch, when you're setting up a switch, do I want to buy one switch or multiple switches? if I've got all of my tech, my NAS, I've got all of my, I've got IoT devices, CCTV, I've got my computers, and they're all running into the one switch. Fantastic. Your switch fails, not fantastic. You've lost everything. You have two switches and you have redundancy. You can do the same thing with power. UPSs, backup powers, running into different power like outlets, right? So that if one fails, you don't lose everything. I know it sounds extreme, but if you have this thinking that whenever I set something up, I want to set it up with redundancy in mind. And then my last one, and I think this is the most exciting one of all, is using the AI machine when it comes to redundancy and high availability, and just knowing how things are set up. So for example, I use a tool called N8N. If you have not gotten onto N8N, you got to check out N8N. I've got a full video that you can go check out right over here about all things N8N. And this thing changed my life when I figured out that I could configure it to talk to everything, automate everything, and then connect it to AI. Connected to my ChatGPT. So I've got a connection into OpenAI, and I've got an OpenAI account using some of the tokens in there. And now what I'm doing is I'm extracting data. N8N, ChatGPT, now knows about all of the tech in my Homelab, knows everything about it because I've got it connected to everything. And it's always spitting out logs on everything. So it's going to let me know when things are looking not so good. It's like a advanced version of a monitoring alerting piece of tech, right? If you've ever heard of like SolarWinds and PRTG and these sort of things, it's like that, but on steroids, because now I've got an AI that essentially is my interface, like my little helper here that is analyzing and letting me know. And then you know what I do is I say, hey, N8N or hey, ChatGPT, here's all my network setup. I want to build something that is highly available, redundant, and has great disaster recovery. You know what it's going to do? Because it knows everything about your Homelab. It's going to go, hey, have you considered doing this, and this? I've noticed that you've only got one network interface card on this piece of tech that seems to be pretty important. Maybe you should look at getting a second one. I've noticed that your NAS is configured in a RAID 1. That's not good. Maybe you should configure it in a RAID 5. I've noticed, you get the drift, yeah? Let me know, what's your setup look like? Have you got a good redundant setup in place? Have you encountered like failings where things just didn't go well and then you have to recover everything and it's a nightmare? I know, it's a nightmare. I mentioned I've got a whole bunch of training courses. You want to go check some of those out if you want to learn more about tech. And also you want to follow along. Would love it if you subscribe, click on the button on the bell. We'll see you on the next video.